So today I really want to talk to you about how to get a $250,000 small business grant. I'm giving you a 5-step proven formula. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. Today's show has three main sections, so I'm going to talk to you about how to get a $250,000 small business grant. But the show has three main sections, so I'll first give you an overview of small business grants, then the list of small business grants available, and finally how to apply for and increase your chances of winning a $250,000 small business grant. If you just want to hear how to get the grant, just skip 7 to 9 minutes ahead. All right. Sections 1 and 2 are important because I want to prove to you that there are billions of dollars of grant money out there from various organizations, both private and public, and the grants apply to nearly every sector you can imagine. And unlike popular convention, you don't necessarily have to be in the scientific sector to win a $250,000 small business grant. You don't. So let me first give you an overview here. So if you hear someone promising you free money, it's probably a scam, right? Unless it's a small business grant, because grants really are free money, but they come with a hidden cost. The time it takes to find a grant you qualify for, the time it takes to go through the application and waiting process, and the restrictions of using the money in the way the grant providers want you to. Now, you have to understand that small business grant are funds that are given to a business by an organization for a specific purpose. I want to emphasize that. And grants are available to small business owners during their startup phase, company expansion, and for research and development. And unlike small business loans or credit cards, grants don't need to be repaid. You don't need to repay a grant, and they won't hurt your business credit scores. All right, your business credit score or personal credit score. And so, who qualifies? How do you qualify for that? Now, in general, you have private grants and you have business grants, right? General government startup small business grants cover the whole 9 yards, and so do the private ones. So if you are an innovator, if you are a green business, if you are a rural business, if you're a woman, veteran, or minority-owned business, if you're a nonprofit organization, you can qualify. The cool thing here is that there's a constellation and a variety of grants that makes it possible for nearly every business, every small business, to get a grant if they are willing to put the effort for it. Now, let me just kind of talk to you about the types of small business grants. There are two main types. I've already said that you have government and private. And to find federal and state grants, you can browse government databases based on your location and industry. But these are often paid services that are poorly organized and outdated. And so you got to really do a little more research there. Corporations also provide grants to small businesses, and these private grants usually have less rigorous application requirements, but more competition for fund, right? And you can also apply for a foundation grant. And this is another kind of private grant, but instead of a corporation, you'll receive the cash from a charitable foundation. And again, here you have to also do a little bit of research to make sure you're getting the right type of info. And we actually are showing you right now on the screen. We have a series of resources, online resources for federal small business grants. So you have the first one is grants.gov. And this is actually the official access point for grants administered by government agencies. And it's very comprehensive. It has a lot of information on the federal grant process. The next you have challenge.gov. This is a list of creative, technical, and scientific competitions and prizes run by agencies across the federal government in order to drive innovation. So the focus here is on innovation. Then you have Grant Watch, and this is actually a website to locate funding through federal, state, local, foundation, and corporation grants in the U.S. and Canada. So here you kind of have Grant Watch is more like a one-stop shop for all kinds of grants. So that's pretty resourceful too, pretty helpful as well. And one thing you have to remember though is that before seeing the full eligibility of a grant, you'll have to become a paid member. Then you have SBIR, so you have the Small Business Innovation Research Program, and this is actually a competitive grant program that encourages small businesses in the U.S. to engage in research and development for federal agencies. So it's really kind of an awards-based program for high-tech innovation overseen by the U.S. SBA. And the thing here is that to qualify, you must operate a for-profit business with less than 500 employees, and you need to fulfill other eligibility requirements. We also have the Small Business Technology Transfer Program. This is another program that is administered by the Small Business Administration, the SBA, and it is competitive, and it helps. It actually expands funding opportunities for innovation research and development for federal agencies. Now, both the SBIR and the STTR programs encourage research partnerships, but STTR requires each application to collaborate with a nonprofit research institution during the first two phases of the program. All right. Now, to qualify, you must operate a for-profit business with less than 500 employees and fulfill again all eligibility requirements. I want to talk to you also now about the states, because I was talking to you about the federal, what's available at the federal level. Now let's talk about what's available at the state level. So you have state small business grant. So you have the Economic Development Administration, the EDA, and this is actually a U.S. Department of Commerce agency that offers grants, resources, and technical assistance to encourage entrepreneurship and innovation at the state level. Okay. Then you have the State Business Incentives Database. I love this database. It's very comprehensive. It's very helpful. It's basically a national database for economic developers, business development, finance professionals, and economic researchers. So you have the Council for Community and Economic Research, the C2ER, created this database, the State Business Incentives Database, to provide data on incentive programs for all U.S. states and territories. So this is something, now the only thing is you have to pay for it. There's a membership fee here, but it's great. And then you have the Small Business Development Centers, the SBDCs. This is another category of very interesting resource as well. And so your local SBDC provides support for small businesses and inspiring entrepreneurs throughout the United States by helping existing small businesses remain competitive in a competitive market. So often associated with the state's economic development agency, your SBDC can help connect you with financing, networking opportunities, and business mentors. What we love with the SBDCs is that they go beyond funding your business. They go beyond helping you find the funds. They will help you. They will actually help you lay a strong foundation for your business success. So here I'm referring to not only funding, but also networking, but also business development, but also finding the right business coaches and business mentors for your company. And again, at the local level, that's the key word here, local level, because if you apply for a federal grant, you're probably waiting for a decision to be made at the federal level, right? But if you apply for a local grant, you are close to the action, so to speak, and you are able to follow up more closely, and you're able to actually receive advice on how to apply for and be approved for the grant in the first place. I want to also talk to you about corporate small business grants, because there are a few of them out there that are very interesting and that you might want to pay attention to. So we have the Federal Express, the FedEx Small Business Grant Context. Great one. This is actually, this is a context that provides a top prize of $50,000 along with funds towards print and business services. And the contest actually is a great. It has drawn a lot of small businesses in the past. You got to have, if you are interested in applying for this contest, in entering the contest, you got to have a for-profit business in operation for at least 6 months with no more than 99 employees. Then you have the Visa Everywhere initiative. This is another great platform, and it's a global innovation program that encourages small businesses to solve problems related to payments and commerce. The program has raised over $2 billion in funding and chooses 4 finalists to present at the Visa Payments Forum each year. That's a fantastic grant program. Then you have the NAES, the National Association of the Self-Employed. This is a great organization, folks. If you're a small business owner or you're self-employed, we would strongly encourage you to actually seek membership here, because the resources are fantastic. You can learn a lot from here. So if you are a member of NAES, for example, you can apply for their small business grants, and the grant is awarded per month up to $4,000. Think about it. That's great, right? $4,000 a month. And then you have the Patagonia Corporate Grant Program, another great one. This will give you this offers funds between $10,000 and $20,000 every year, and so you're able to, and they allow this to the fund rather innovative nonprofit organizations that work to preserve and protect the environment. As you know, Patagonia is a brand, and they really care a lot about the environmental preservation, the eco-friendly processes across the world. Then you have NAV's quarterly $10,000 business grant. We love this one also. So each quarter, NAV, which is a financing marketplace for businesses, awards a $10,000 grant to a small business and 2 lesser grants for runner-ups. So you don't need to meet any special criterion to apply. You just need to sign up for a free NAV account and post on social media about what your business plans to do with a grant. And so this is pretty cool. I mean, NAV has been doing a lot of good stuff in the industry for the last few years. So, but this is another topic. Now, let me talk to you about demographic specific small business grants. So if you are a woman, veteran, or minority business owner, there are financial incentives funded by corporations, special interest groups, and the U.S. Small Business Administration, the SBA, that aim to help underrepresented demographics. So you have the Eileen Fisher Women-Owned Business Grant. We love this grant. Very, very specific, very great. And this is actually a program by women's clothing retailer Eileen Fisher that awards a total of $100,000 in grant money to up to 10 female business owners each year. So the women must make up at least 51% of your business's ownership and leadership, and you have to be in operation for at least 3 years, earn less than $1 million in annual revenue, and be focused on environmental or social change. Great program if you are a woman, if you lead a woman-owned business. You also have the Amber Grant. So this grant is awarded once per month, and they give a $10,000 to a female entrepreneur, and each year 1 to 12 monthly grant recipients get an additional $25,000 in funding. Right. So the cool thing here is that they have a pretty straightforward application process, very fast, and but just so you know, there is a $15 fee to apply. And you have the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA grants. And the cool thing here is that the USDA offers a variety of grants for small businesses and nonprofit organizations operating in rural areas, right? So if you are in a rural area, you might want to check out the USDA grants. They also offer a variety of business loans, by the way. So if you don't qualify for a grant, you may be able to borrow money at 0 interest. That's pretty cool. You have the Veteran Small Business Award. This is a great one too. This is actually a grant. This is an award actually that's provided by Street Shares Foundation that awards up to $15,000 to veterans or spouses of veterans that own over 50% of the business. And the mission here, we love Street Shares Foundation for this. Their mission is to inspire, educate, and support veterans as they start small businesses. And last but not the least, we have First Nations Development Institute grants. This is actually a nonprofit organization that has successfully raised millions of dollars over the years, and they have provided over 30 million total grant money to projects that help Native Americans, Alaska Natives, and Native Hawaiians. That's pretty great. So, folks, the list I just gave you is a non-exhaustive list. There are literally hundreds of grants out there. You're going to have to do some research. There are services that actually you can outsource the whole research to. They will they will search for grants for you based on your business, and you can apply. I'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. We are actually having a convo about how to get a 250,000 small business grant, and I'm gonna give you now the 5-step simple proven formula. The number one, you need to get help to start the process. There are resources for free help. You can contact your local SBA or your Small Business Development Center for free resources for researching grants and understanding their requirements. You can take training courses to learn how to get a small business startup grant, form relationships with granting agencies and officers, and completing grant applications. Please avoid paying for access to information on government grants or paying vendors to complete your grant applications unless you have verified them. Instead, you want to use the resources that are available to actually get the grants. It is important to get help in starting the process because, as I said earlier, there are literally hundreds of grants out there, but you got to actually niche down. You got to actually zero in on the specific types of grants that are sort of interest to your small business. Number two, you need to research each grant carefully. Here, I cannot overemphasize the importance of detail. It's really important. You must understand the eligibility criteria for you and your business, since most grant applications ask about both. You got to know the deadlines and meet them, or get your application rejected. And the agencies rarely give extensions. Why? Because there are thousands of applicants. Why would they give you a special treatment, right? And most agencies also do not make exceptions to deadlines for individual businesses. So you want to pay close attention to the stringent requirements of each grant application before you start the process. For example, are you a minority-owned business? Check. Focused on a positive environmental impact? Check. In operation for over 3 years? So if for instance, if you've only been in business for 2, you'll have to wait until next year. Don't try to fudge the truth. You'll end up wasting valuable time and efforts. Okay, very important. And one thing I want to say here is that you want to reach out to the grant officer and get a sense of what they're looking for. What are their needs? Timing, constraints. The more you know, the better. And you want to focus on small business grant. There are above 250,000. If you go back to the list I gave you earlier, you will see grants of 250,000 or more. Another option is to apply to 2 or 3 grants in the 100K to 200K region, so you still get 250,000 in total, right? This is the strategy here. And if necessary, and this is an important element here, make sure you register with any required government database, and those includes System for Award Management, SAM, or a state or local government grant database before you apply. If you do thoroughly understand and complete the right process. If you want to get a $250,000 small business grant, you need to write a strong grant proposal. And again, if this is not your forte, I will strongly advise you to outsource the task. Why? Because grant writing is a specialized skill, and you may have to pay someone to help you. Or you could learn through a local nonprofit, the SBDC or SBA. And this is kind of important because competition is tough, right? You have literally thousands of other small business owners who are vying for the same pie that you are vying for. And this is kind of important. So grants to be successful should be part of your overall fundraising plan. Have a calendar and a dedicated grant writer, either on staff or contracted. If you go on the internet, and I love freelancing websites such as Fiverr, Freelancer, or Upwork. They have, you will be surprised because a lot of people think that gig workers on those platforms are cheap and provide low quality work. No, you can find James, you can find wonderful, competent workers on those platforms. You're just gonna have to pay a little more. As long as you're comfortable with paying more, then it's fine. Okay, so your strong grant proposal should have key components. You got to have a cover letter. You got to have an executive summary. You have to specify the need statement, because the statement of need is actually the meat of your grant proposal. You got to convince the funder, that what you propose to do is essential and that your organization is the right one to do it. And please never assume that the reader of your summary knows much of anything about the issue. You got to use your expertise to explain it, but make it simple to understand. You got to include goals and objectives. You have to put methods, strategies, or program design. Evaluation section is an important element also. Other funding or sustainability. Information about your organization. The project budget. And additional materials. For example, funders are likely to want to see the following: the IRS letter proving that your organization is tax exempt if you're a non-for-profit, the list of your board of directors and their affiliations, a budget for your current fiscal year, the budget for your next fiscal year if you are within a few months of that new year. All right? And you may need to have your CEO and the board president sign the cover letter or the cover sheet. All right? You don't need a fancy binder, but it should be neatly typed and free of errors. Online grant applications have become quite popular with many funders, so take equal care with those as well. Very important. And the most comprehensive collection of grant samples may be at Grant Space by Candid. It has a downloadable sample grant proposal, cover letters, and more. And we found this Grant Space by Candid is very, very helpful. You might want to double check it. It's great. Number 4, you need to compile and submit all the documents required. Now, the grant making agency or organization provides a detailed list of them, right? But they usually include current financial statements and often a business plan. And a well-crafted business plan will be required. Make sure your business plan describes why your company will be successful, how the funding will strengthen your business, and how you will fulfill the specific goals of the grant. And because we've seen, based on our experience, that incomplete or incorrect applications lead to delays and grant denials. And you need to follow up with the grant officer after you have submitted your application. It's okay to keep in touch with in a non-intrusive way. Seriously, yes. Don't be scared at all. You can reach out to them. They're not going to bite you. And you can ask if the grant officer has any question or concerns that you can address. And step number 5, very important also, understand certification or verification requirements. The thing here is that the grant making agency just want to make sure that they are talking to the right organization. They are funding the right organization, so they want to have some certifications and representations. And this is very important. Let me give you an example of certification and verification for grants provided by the United States Department of Agriculture, National Institute of Food and Agriculture, and I'm putting this on the screen right now. You can see it. And in the USDA USDA NIFA, they ask for certification for authorized representative, drug-free workplace, debarment and suspension, certification regarding lobbying, certification regarding civil rights compliance, certification regarding unpaid federal tax liability, certification regarding criminal convictions, representation regarding prohibition on certain internal confidentiality agreements, certification regarding industrial hemp. So the bottom line here is that this is just an example, right? So this is a sample list of certifications and representations. The specific grant that you're applying for might actually ask for something else. But the bottom line here is you have to pay attention a lot, because the grant officers do look at those certifications and representations very carefully. All right? All right, folks. So this is it. If you want to get a $250,000 In small business grant, you got to do 5 things. You need to get help to start the process. You need to research each grant carefully. You need to write a strong grant proposal. You need to compile and submit all the documents required. And you need to understand certifications or verification requirements. Very important. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. I will see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.